Welcome, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Yee! And today we're going to be reacting to two creepy, true, Fourth of July horror stories. Um, I think when I edit this, I don't think it will be the 4th of July, but it is the 4th of July. However, I'm so excited for this. It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've watched Mr. Nightmare. No, hasn't been that long. Yeah, I, yeah, something, something, yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn notification, and click the bell beside you. Anyway, let's jump right on to it, shall we? Yeah, let's watch, let's watch. I haven't watched this in a while. Yeah. I need to put my volume up. I am not ready. I'm never ready. And subtitles. Damn. Haven't even done it. Anyway, let's jump into this. Oh, damn.
This
Anonymous.
happened just last year. My buddy Jimmy is pretty involved and well connected within the music community. By music community, I'm more specifically referring to the dance/electronic music scene all along the East Coast.
Oh, look, I love music. Um, Electronic music. Sounds interesting. I like music. I'd go to this event. Probably.
Predominantly New Jersey and New York. It's actually pretty impressive what he and his team have been able to accomplish in just 2 years. The general gist is this. Their company hosts what they call events. Way back, I'm talking 20 plus years. I've basically known him my entire life, and he's been my best friend for damn near most of it. Because of that, he lets me, along with a bunch of our other hometown friends, come to his shows for free and hang out with the talent in the VIP section. It's actually really cool, and something I wish I expressed my gratitude to start on the alcohol consumption. Jimmy and his team were entitled to as much free booze as they desired, compliments of the venue, and Ryan and I definitely took advantage of that. By the time the first DJ started his set, Ryan and I were more than a little buzzed, to put it mildly. It was 4th of July weekend after all, so we felt like our degenerate activities were justified. Fast forward a couple hours, and Ryan and I were completely wasted. I honestly don't remember a time since then when I was that drunk. Not even close. Don't get me wrong, Ryan and I are grown men. We can handle our alcohol. Throwing up, making fools of ourselves wasn't the issue, though. It was genuinely just the problem of having lower impulse control and worse decision making. But either way,
Yeah,
we're
I
having a
don't
great
know
time.
how old these people are. They're probably like, I don't know. I don't know how old decision making. I forgot how old they were. I don't know if they specified how old they were, but they sound like they're about 20. Oh, wait, it'd be in America, so 21, 22. So, I don't know about that.
At least from what I can remember. The event was winding down. It was getting to that point of the night where you either figured out how you were getting home or who you were going home with, or both. Jimmy had rented an Airbnb really close by and promised both Ryan and I a bed, so the first issue wasn't a concern. The second problem, though, that was what was on my mind. The two of us danced over to the bar and started talking to some girls we found attractive, and before long, we had figured out who we were going to spend the rest of the night with. Neither of us are Calvin Klein models, but we're both above 6 feet tall. For whatever reason, the vast majority of guys who hang around the Jersey Shore are usually shorter than average, so being tall is an even bigger boost than it usually is. And for whatever reason, that seems to be the main attribute most girls on the Jersey Shore seek out. Not looks, not build, not intelligence, but height. Don't ask me why. The Jerseyan female mind is still something I have yet to comprehend. I'm probably botching their names, but I'm fairly sure the two girls introduced themselves as Gianna and Marcela. Us meeting them coincides with where my ability to recall events precisely becomes a bit hazy, so there may be gaps in the story from here on out. From what I can remember, It was actually Marcela who suggested we all leave together and continue to party elsewhere, which Ryan and I weren't going to argue with. Gianna handed the two of us a drink and insisted that we get on
Nah,
their level before
no,
heading out, even though
no, I would not go to wherever they've gone to. Like, that sounds sus as hell. Just saying. No, no, mm-mm, no. We're staying in this spot. Like, if you want to go elsewhere, I don't know. We don't know. We don't know where this story's going.
we had both probably consumed the fluid equivalent of her body weight in alcohol already. I know that whole dynamic. Girls getting guys drinks sounds a little unorthodox, and it is. But these girls were clearly wealthy given how they were dressed. After downing the drinks, the four of us started moving toward a little. I was fully anticipating going back to our Airbnb, considering the guys were usually the ones to host in situations like this. But both girls insisted that Marcela's beach house was definitely nicer than whatever inland Airbnb we found for the night. She had a point, so I didn't argue, and neither did Ryan. We walked along the beach, talking the whole time. The girls seemed really intelligent and knowledgeable based on the conversations we had, and I remember finding it so refreshing to talk about something other than nightlife and whatever other garbage I'm used to talking to girls about for once. Not just girls, drunk people in general. At one point, I actually felt kind of embarrassed for being so drunk because I felt like I couldn't articulate myself well enough and looked like an idiot. That's when I realized I actually was feeling drunker than I had been 15 minutes earlier. But it wasn't a drunk I was used to feeling. I felt like my body was melting under my weight, as if I were going to collapse uncontrollably any second.
They probably spiked your drink. Just saying. That's, I don't know.
My legs felt flimsy, almost like cardboard, if that makes any sense. Moving my limbs, mouth, and even my eyes became increasingly more difficult, and there was a moment where my extremities started feeling a little numb. But then, just as quickly as the feeling arose, it passed, back to normal drunkenness, at least for the time being. Just
That's
then,
weird.
we arrived at
That
the
is
beach
very
house.
weird.
It was insane. I'm
I've
probably
never seen
exaggerating
that
because I
before.
was so drunk, but it looked like what I imagined a professional athlete's beach house to look like. We went inside, and after taking our shoes off, found ourselves in what I'm guessing was a living room. I say guessing because the level of opulence in there was just so foreign to anything I'm used to. It was decorative, but somehow minimalistic. Even those descriptions are opposite. There were honest to God sculptures on pedestals in there, but it didn't feel cluttered or overly showy, and everything on display seemed to blend right into the walls, like they were just extensions of the room. I wish I had the wherewithal to take a picture, but again, my mind was elsewhere. Evidently,
Yeah, can you imagine you walked into someone's house and you saw those sculptures? I mean, I wouldn't probably think anything about it, clearly, but I'd just be like, they're very unusual. I probably wouldn't think much, like I said, but, you know, just very interesting. I shouldn't judge. I've got weird shit in my room. I mean, I don't have those sculptures, but I have weird things. Like, I collect dream catchers. That's not really that weird, but like, I collect so many dream catchers. I have an addiction to dream catchers. Not addiction, but I have an obsession. Like, I have about 30 dream catchers in my whole house. I've got like, probably like, I think there's about 16 in my bedroom. But like, there's like 14 around my house. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I just think they're a very comfort thing. You know, dream catchers. I didn't even think about them just capturing dreams or nightmare. Like I do, but I have them because yeah, they're just a comfort thing. Make me feel like I belong. You know. But yeah, just find it very interesting.
it was Ryan's because not 15 minutes after stepping foot in the house, he and Marcela had disappeared somewhere in that maze of a house,
Oh
which left me
damn!
alone with Gianna. She leaned in to kiss me, and that's the last thing I remember before blacking out. Not her kissing me, but leaning in to kiss me. That's where everything cuts off. I don't remember feeling woozy again or drinking more or doing anything else, but there's a huge gap in my memory that spans several hours and will not come back no matter what I try. And the thing is, I know I didn't pass out because there are texts on my phone sent from me proving I was still conscious. There's digital proof that I was sentient, but I don't remember one bit of it. Before you say I just simply blacked out from alcohol, this was different. I rarely ever black out, but all the times I have, I can still remember bits and pieces of the night, scattered moments here and there, enough for me to string together a continuous sequence of events at the very least. Keep
Very weird. Never had this experience. So he just he did things when he was subconscious. When he wasn't quite there, he was blacked out, but doing still things. That how does that work? I don't know how that works.
in mind, those were also all times where I was drunker than I was that night. So that's another reason I think a generic blackout isn't a reasonable explanation for what
Yeah,
happened.
exactly.
Plus, Ryan experienced the exact same thing at essentially the exact same time, which is way too specific to be coincidental. Here's the next thing I remember: waking up with the sun directly overhead in a random set of bushes over an hour away from where the event was. Something I didn't
What?
know yet because my phone wasn't in my pocket. In fact, nothing was in my pocket at all. Both my wallet and keys were gone, but it gets worse. It wasn't even my pocket to begin with. I was wearing someone else's clothes, and not Ryan's either. A complete stranger's. The only personal belonging of mine I still had in my possession was my shoes, and even those were messed up. Both shoes had the shoelaces removed and were soaking wet. My head was pounding, and everything felt disoriented, like I was waking up from anesthesia. I didn't even sit up right away. I just stared at the sky for a minute, trying to make sense of where I was. Bushes, someone else's clothes, no wallet, no phone, no keys. Based on my shoes, it was like I had been in the water recently, but I didn't.
Um, if I blacked out, woke up, and I was wearing different people's clothing, I had my shoes, but I don't really wear laces because I'm lazy, and it takes me like 20 minutes to do my shoelace. Don't ask me why, but like you can if you want to. If I had that experience, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, where's my shoelaces? Why is my shoes soaking wet? Why am I wearing different clothing? Like people like I'd be like, what? I feel like I would need to go to psych ward, literally, because I feel like I'd be losing it. I'd be like, what happened? Like, how did this happen? I don't understand. Like, did I don't know. I'd be in a haze for sure. It's just that's just very weird and just like very out of the ordinary. Like, I don't know. Just yeah, it's weird.
Didn't smell like salt water or chlorine. The worst part about the whole thing was the blankness. I genuinely couldn't remember anything past Gianna leaving, like I already said. That's when the panic started to creep in. I wasn't just hungover, I was scared. I had no idea how I got there. What if I'd gotten into a fight or crashed a car? What if someone drugged me? I didn't have a single point of reference for the last 10
No
hours.
shit.
I stood up and realized there wasn't a single landmark around me. It didn't look like a beach town, which also scared me. The road ahead just curved into more trees, but just across the street, maybe a
My
few hundred
back
feet
is so
away,
sore.
was a 7-Eleven. It was genuinely the only thing in sight, so I headed straight for it. I asked the guy behind the counter if I could use his phone, telling him that mine had been stolen. He stared at me for a second, probably debating whether or not I was trying to scam him, but then he slid it across the counter. The first number that came to my mind was my sister's. It was the only number besides my mom or dad's I still memorized, and there was no way in hell I was calling my parents. My sister picked up right away. I tried explaining things the best I could. She ended up giving me Ryan's number, which I ended up calling several times, but to no avail. That's when I started wondering if what had happened to me happened to him too. Drugged, robbed, dumped in some random bushes an hour away. I was just about to call the police, and what do you know? Ryan walks into the same 7-Eleven. We just stared at each other for a second before dabbing each other up. He then told me his version of things, and you guessed it, it was the same story. Damn near exactly. That sealed it for us. We called the police, making sure to thank the 7-Eleven worker profusely. Fast forward a few minutes, and we're now recounting our story to the police outside the store.
Yeah,
To their
that's good.
credit, they took everything we said seriously at first. But the more we told them, the more their questions started turning. Were we sure we didn't just drink too much? Maybe we wandered off and passed out somewhere. They weren't accusing.
I can't stand when police are like this. I'm not saying all police officers are like this. A lot of police officers are actually really good, and they'll actually come to the But then you always get those type of police officers, like, you know, this is very off topic. This got nothing to do. This just came into my head, like the Jeffrey Dahmer thing. Like I just watched a Jeffrey Dahmer documentary, and like this, like these neighbors called the police because this 14-year-old was butt naked and da da da. And then they didn't do shit about it. They didn't do jack shit. They're like, oh, we're not going to touch this. This is too gay or this is too racist. Oh, just like very dismissive. I'm very tired of cops being dismissive. People being dismissive. Like, it happens all the time. All the fucking time. And it's so fucking annoying. Like, seriously. Like, there's a situation, someone's gonna talk to you. Like, yes, I'm not expecting you to be my psychologist, but I'm expecting you to at least acknowledge me and take it into accountability instead of being like, oh, there's only so much we can do. Yeah. Well, you need to just learn to accept it and move on. It's like, no, that's, you know, I'm not asking you to go out of your reach to do everything you can for the next 50 years, but I'm just asking you to really look into this. I'm just, it's like getting taken advantage of. And I'm so fed up with it, you know? And this is a good example of that. Like, just, I don't understand why people are like this. Just saying.
Accusing us outright, but it was clear they weren't entirely convinced something criminal
Of
happened.
course.
I told them it was unlikely we would have drunkenly wandered into a town an hour away by foot, and I don't think they liked that remark very much. I gave them my sister's number and
I
asked them to call
can't with this fucking officer. I don't like this remark. Well, who cares? You can just die. That's what it literally feels like. You can just die. Who cares? I don't care about your feelings. I only care about people when I want to care to save them.
already tracking my phone through Find My iPhone. To all of our collective surprise, my phone was showing up in the middle of a parking lot a few minutes' drive away. The officers agreed to drive us. Sure enough, both our phones were sitting on the pavement next to each other. While it was great to have my phone back, that only affirmed the police's theory that we had just been drunk. They started
Yeah,
saying that we probably hadn't
now
even been
you
robbed,
curious.
that we had lost our wallets the same way we had lost our phones. We tried convincing the police to check out the house Marcela brought us to, the one she claimed was hers, but they weren't having it. They told us we were probably just too drunk and didn't remember things correctly. One of them even said, it happens more than you think. Then they gave us their cards and told us to call if we remembered anything else. It was actually shocking how reluctant they were to even connect us to other officers that would be willing to help. They told us
I would have called other officers. I would have gone to the police station. I would have been like, can you drive to the police station so that we can get other police officers that actually want to fucking help? Oh, this fucking irritates me. I can't deal with this bullshit.
to find a ride home since our phones were still charged, and they just left us there. After they left, I
They
went through my
left
phone
you
for the
there?
first time, and things got
No!
even weirder.
They couldn't give you a ride home? They couldn't give you a ride. No, they're in cahoots. They're in cahoots with those girls. No. Why didn't they not help you?
were texts sent from me to a ton of people I knew. Jimmy, my parents, a few coworkers, even some girls I had been talking to. All normal sounding stuff. Stuff I might have said if I had actually had a calm, coherent night. The texts genuinely sounded like me, but from a continuity standpoint, they didn't make any sense when considered all together. One message to Jimmy thanked him for the events and said we'd crashed at a buddy's place. Once my dad said we were safe and had found a couch to sleep on. There was another to a girl I'd been texting that just said something casual, like I was hanging out at home and thinking about her. None of those texts made any sense, and mostly contradicted each other. I realized I had a ton of missed calls and texts from Jimmy, so I called him. He sounded relieved to hear from me, saying he thought Ryan and I had died or something. He told us to stay put, he'd come pick us up. In the
Yeah,
meantime,
good
Ryan and
friends.
I canceled all our cards, but interestingly, none of them had been used, despite the likely fact that they had been in those girls' possession for several hours. The entire ride home, we talked non-stop about what could have happened. None of it made any sense. Yeah, we had been drugged, that much was clear, but that didn't explain things. First of all, I don't know of any kind of roofie that has those effects, like an induced blackout. Everything
Oh,
I've
there
read
would
just said
be.
those drugs make you fall
There'd
asleep.
be roofies
But
out
again,
there to
I was
black you out.
conscious, as the text confirmed. Plus, why go to such lengths just to rob two random guys? Especially if you weren't going to at least even attempt to use their credit cards. Two guys who walked up to you, no less. And in such a risky place, too. Your own house. Or was it the house they had broken into? Both were equally risky. Jimmy thought we had been targeted, but like I just said, we had been the ones to approach the girls, so we couldn't have been targeted. And all this isn't even mentioning how or why we
It doesn't matter if
miraculously
you
found
approach the
ourselves in a
girls.
random
Let's see
town
real
an
love
hour
one.
away wearing other people's clothing. As crazy as it
Yeah,
sounds,
like
both
that.
Ryan and I checked ourselves for incisions, thinking maybe some of our
Mm,
organs had been harvested, but there was nothing. Jimmy suggested that maybe they had just given us some exotic drugs, which I guess makes sense. But someone had driven us to that town, and someone other than those girls had switched clothes with us. We never got an answer, but it's not like we just forgot about the whole thing. Ryan and I ended up driving all the way back to the shore just to go looking for that house. We tried our best to retrace our steps, knowing that if we just walked along the boardwalk, we'd eventually find the house, since it was on the beach. And we actually did find it. The two of us walked up the walkway and rang the doorbell. An older man opened the door, asking us what we wanted. I did the talking, not wanting to reveal too much or potentially incriminate myself. I simply asked him if a girl named Marcela lived here, or if he had a daughter or granddaughter around our age. He gave me a hard no, and I made up some BS story that there was a girl who lied about owning this house, which he actually found pretty funny. And that was that. I would be lying if I said I didn't walk away from that house with a sick, unsettling feeling in my stomach. I can't even describe it as fear, just a sickening discomfort, like something truly awful had happened to me and my
mm,
friend that night, and I'd never get to the bottom of it. For a
yeah,
long time
probably
after
never
that,
will.
I was convinced those girls had been involved in something much, much bigger that neither me nor Ryan could even conceive. That maybe they had been planning to kidnap or kill us, and decided not to go through with it at the last second for whatever reason. I know I'll never have an update, but if something else happens, I'll definitely send something.
No, you won't. It's Mr. Nightmare. We know about Mr. Nightmare. He does send updates. Yay! That one was scary. That one was definitely like a I'll give that one maybe. Hmm, give that one like a 9 because if I woke up in the middle of nowhere in a hazy, shocked state of mind, had no idea what's going on, very confused about what kind of clothes I'm wearing, and they were swapped and my other clothes weren't there anymore, I'd be very concerned too. Just saying. Yeah, that was bone chilling. Damn. Oh, last one. I can't believe there's only 2 stories. Wow. That one was a very long story for Mr. Nightmare. That was like nearly bloody. It was like 16 minutes, nearly. Over 15 minutes. Yeah.
My name's Ariel, and I live in Georgia, not too far from the Alabama border. Several summers ago, I made the drive out to this small town in Alabama for a 4th of July cookout my college friend Isabel was throwing. blurs, that kind of thing. I
Mm.
didn't leave until a little after 10, which, looking back, was probably my first mistake. That part of the state gets real quiet once the sun goes down. The drive home was going to take a little over 2 hours. Most of the route was
Don't
back
let the
roads, long,
sun
empty
go
stretches of dark
down on
two-lane roads
me
with
yet.
nothing but thick tree lines on either side. Every now and then, I'd pass an old farmhouse or a tiny church with a gravel lot, but for the most part, it was just darkness and more darkness. I had music playing low, and I was still in a good mood from the party,
Nah, I'd have
but I
that.
won't lie, there was something about driving through places like that at night that gets under my skin, even when there's no real reason to be afraid. I've always been somewhat scared of the dark, so I bet that plays into it a little too. About 30 minutes in, I noticed a pair of headlights in my rearview mirror. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured someone else had just hopped onto the same back road.
Yeah, that. I think being scared of the dark is like a childhood fear. I don't know if it comes as PTSD. Someone in the comment section will ask, but I think it's just a childhood fear. Depends how far it goes. Yeah.
But the longer it stayed there, the more I started to pay attention. It was a gray Nissan Altima. Nothing unusual, except the bottom half of the car looked like it had been driving through mud. I
No.
could see it clearly anytime we passed one of those overhead lights at a small crossing.
No.
Even still, that wasn't that weird on its own. But after a while, I realized no matter how much I sped up or slowed down, that car matched me exactly. At first, I thought it might have been just a coincidence, so I sped up a little, maybe 5, 10 miles an hour over what I was doing before. But the Altima did the same, so I instead tapped my brakes and let myself drift well below the limit. Again, same results. The distance between us never changed. Now keep in mind, on roads like that, people pass each other all the time. It's not even illegal in most spots. I moved slightly to the right a couple times to make it obvious that I was giving the space they needed if they want to go around. But they didn't. They just stayed exactly where they were, about 6 or 7 car lengths back. That's when I decided to test them. There was a random left turn coming up. It was what looked like a little residential road with maybe 4 houses scattered on either side. I took the turn with no hesitation. I wanted to get as far away from that car as possible. But about 10 seconds later, the car actually turned off and made the same left turn in the middle of nowhere. There was about a 0% chance they belonged on that road. At that point, I knew for a fact they were following me. It wasn't even up for debate anymore.
Yeah,
I got this.
that's fucking scary. If I had a car following me like that, I'd be out. Like, what do you even do? It's like zooming past. Zooming past. No. I got PTSD. I got paranoia. Like I can't deal with cars following one another. I've been there, done that. Not with my car, but I've had a carer or my parents in the car, and the cars followed us back.
Really sick feeling in my gut, like I was in genuine danger.
Yeah, I
For
would
all
feel
I
the
knew,
same thing.
I probably was.
Yep.
By then, my heart was beating through my chest, the same way it would if someone had a gun to my head. I don't know
Damn.
why. That's the easiest analogy I could think of. I just felt so helpless out there in the middle of nowhere. I had no idea what that person wanted or why they were locked onto me, but none of the reasons I could think of did anything but terrify me. I just wanted to get somewhere safe and somewhere public, with
Mhm.
lights and people. As if on cue, I heard that god awful chime that indicates a near empty gas tank. I swear to God, I've never felt so powerless. My car's old. It's a 2012 Corolla that's been through more than its fair share of problems.
Why do you have a car that old? I don't know how old this story is. It could be like 2014 or whatever. But he's saying it's old, so it must be like last year or something, or this year. Why do you have a car that old? Get a new car. I understand cars are expensive. I understand. I'd be so scared in this moment. I'd be my heart racing, heart pounding. Yeah, I don't know what I would do in this moment. Comment down below what you would do in this moment.
Sometimes the gas light gives me 20 miles. Sometimes I'm lucky to get 10. Out there, in that part of the state, There's not exactly a gas station on every corner. I pulled out my phone and looked up the nearest 24-hour spot. It was over 8 miles away. I didn't know if I'd make it, but I didn't have a choice. I wasn't about to pull over, not with that car still tailing me. I thought about calling the police, but I felt like it would have been a waste of time so far out in the middle of nothingness. Cops out there take years to arrive anywhere. There was part
Years
of me
to
that felt like
arrive.
calling the police would make the danger more real. I know how irrational that sounds. I feel pretty
It
embarrassed
sounds
even writing
super
that down,
irrational.
but I'm just trying to be as honest as possible about how I felt. Gas needle dropped to empty a couple minutes later. Not just low, empty. I tried to stay calm. I could feel myself starting to spiral. Every little sound of the car felt louder. Road felt longer. I felt stupid for being so powerless, and I didn't know what to do to change that. I knew I wasn't going to make it to the gas station. Scenarios started flashing through my head about what would happen once my car ran out of gas. But by some miracle, I finally spotted the glow of the gas station sign up ahead. I almost cried, to be completely honest with you. I took the turn hard and pulled into the lot in one quick motion to give myself some time to get out of the car and book it inside. And that's exactly what I did. I jumped out and ran inside, barely shutting my car door behind me. From inside, I could see the Ultima through the window. It slowed to a stop at the edge of the lot and sat there for maybe 10 seconds with the engine still running. No one got out, though. It was almost like whoever was inside was debating whether to continue pursuing me or not. And then, out of nowhere, it peeled off, fast, disappeared back down the road we had come from. I told the gas station guy what happened, and he offered to call the police for me. Even after talking to the police, I still felt very unsettled. I know it's not the scariest thing to have happened to someone, but there's no explanation for what happened to me that doesn't involve whoever was driving that car having sinister intentions. And that feeling of pure fear, I hope I never have to experience that ever again.
Yeah,
I made it home and told
that's terrifying.
myself I'd never drive along rural back roads in the middle of the night ever again. The story doesn't end there, though.
Oh
A
damn!
few weeks later, something happened that made my stomach drop all over again. I was sitting at home watching the news one evening, just background noise really, when a segment came on about two men suspected of armed robbery, attempted murder, and a bunch of other things in rural Alabama. They showed a blurry still from a security camera that mentioned that authorities believed he had fled in a stolen gray Nissan Altima, last seen headed east. When I heard that, I just froze up. That's who had been following me. I knew it in my gut. There was no way to prove it was the same person who followed me that night, but I'm telling you, I felt it. The timing lined up, the location lined up, the description of the
Oh
car made sense.
hell no!
I immediately told my story to the police, and that's when it really all hit me. My own stupidity could have prevented two extremely dangerous men from being caught. I will never forgive
Yeah,
myself for not calling the
you
police
should have
sooner.
called the
It's
fucking
something I actually
police.
think about pretty often. I never got an update from the police, and I never heard anything about the incident on the news. If anything ever changes, I'll send an update.
Yikes, that was like a 9.5/10. Like 9.5. It would have been 10 if his gas ran out. Far out. 9.5. That one was the scariest. That was like a 10. That was like a 10. Damn. Damn, that was a 10. No, the first one was a 9, that one was 10. I have chills. I have chills all down my spine. Oh, hell no. I can't even imagine. It's crazy. And that is my reaction. Yee! That was my reaction to two creepy true 4th of July horror stories by none other than Mr. Nightmare himself. Yee! That they were bone chilling. They were absolutely terrifying. Especially that second story. That first story was just bizarre. Like I'm glad you got out of that situation, but the same time, like, it's still a situation that never got resolved. But that second one, that even though you got out of that situation, it like those people died because you were too coward to not call the police. Like something was in you that made you like I don't know, was afraid or oh the police couldn't get here in time. It'd take years. Why did you have to exaggerate that? Don't worry, I exaggerate. But like seriously, like you could have done something to prevent it. They're dead because of you. But I'm sorry that happened to you. Like, look, I'd be scared. I'd call the police. I'd still call the police. I think I understand why he didn't call the police, though. I mean, the police did get called when you went to the police when you went inside the gas station. But I think if I understand, like, if the car was to die on you and you had the police on the phone, you're spiraling. Like you were saying, you were spiraling. You didn't know if the car was going to stop and you were going to die, so you kept going. You didn't. The police wasn't on your mind. That you can't blame. You can't. You got to think also too. Like, yeah, you probably should have called the police in that moment, but at the same time, those people could have died still. Who knows how long the police would have took? That's very scary. It's very very scary. Oh, I have chills. I have chills all down my spine. Yeah, I don't know. And the first story was just weird. The police are in cahoots in the first story. They didn't do anything. They just sat there and they didn't do anything. Cowards. Like, oh yeah, we'll look into it when not cowards, it's like, oh, they think they know better. I would have lost it. I would have lost it. So fucking annoying. Can't believe they did that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was my reaction to Mr. Nightmare. Absolutely terrifying. Yeah. That. Anyway, please subscribe, turn notification, and click the bell beside you. Anyway, I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Bye.